So, April 19th, 2025, this is my review of reading the end of 1 Samuel, and again, reading the Bible chronologically. We've got the end of 1 Samuel, 1 Samuel 30 and 31, and intermixed with that, we've got 1Chronicles12, 20 and 22, or 20 through 22. That pretty much is part of the story. It kind of repeats. We've also got 1Chronicles10, 1 through 14 in there. 1Chronicles9, 40 through 44. And then we get into 2 Samuel 1 through 16. But before we even get into 2 Samuel 1, we get into 2 Samuel 4, where we learn about Jonathan's children. This is where Jonathan dies. Jonathan and Saul. So that's what we're all about. Starts into 2 Samuel. We get into 2 Samuel chapter 1. With the end of 1 Samuel, we got David had just been sent home. That was yesterday's reading, from being able to fight with the Philistines. They didn't want him there because he's their enemy. And he was living there for protection against Saul, because Saul was still trying to kill him. But so they sent him home. They wouldn't let him be in battle. When they get home, they find out that the Amalekites had taken and plundered their town and taken them off. Well, there's some interesting things with that. One is that this points out bitterness was about to destroy David's army. Bitterness within the army, and how David reacted to that mattered a lot. He actually sought the Lord, and not how to handle it, but he says, hey, I think I should go after them. I should take this bitterness and turn it into strength and capture their people back. Because his own wives had been taken. A lot of the women and children had been taken with the Amalekites. So God said, yes, go after them, you get it. So he takes out the 600 men. This is another interesting part. They get to go to the brook of Besor, but 200 of those 600 men couldn't make it. They were too tired. And so David said, stayed behind. They stayed behind, and he took 400 men with him, and they found a slave on the way. They promised to keep the slave alive because they got the Egyptians, the Amalekites, had left this Egyptian slave for dead. Not the Egyptians, but the Amalekites had left this Egyptian slave for dead, and they revived him, gave him food and water, got him out. Yep, they led that man led him. So again, don't leave people for dead. They'll probably turn against you. So they lead it, and David, the way he puts this is the Lord gave them victory over the Amalekites. They slaughtered the Amalekites. All but 400 of them fled away on camels. 400 of them fled away on camels, so they killed all but those 400, and they were able to take back all that had been plundered. So that's pretty cool, right? And as they returned, some evil men said they didn't want to share with the 200 men that stayed back. And David said, what? You guys are being crazy. Don't do this. Don't withhold what the Lord gives. The Lord gave us victory. The Lord gave us the plunder back. We need to share that back with our brothers. They stayed behind. They still did something. They were still part of us. They just weren't right there in battle with us. And they were part of the Lord's army. So don't be selfish with what the Lord has given us. That's you can put yourself in their place, though, can't we? Look inside, deep inside, and think about that. If somebody didn't participate right there with you, why would you want to share with them? But they were part of the group, and it belonged to them. 1 Chronicles 12, 20 through 22 backs everything up. More documentation, basically, that had happened that way. Then we get the death of Saul. That we shift from David. Then we shift to the Philistines attacking Saul. And the Philistines kill Jonathan. Kill Saul and his 3 sons, which Jonathan was one of them. And we see that they actually cut off Saul's head and stripped the armor off him. They placed the armor in the temple along with Saul's head of their god. They actually, what they said, I think the Chronicles makes the mention that they put Saul's head on their god Dagon. But that's basically let's see, all their mighty warriors traveled through the night. So the Israelite mighty warriors traveled through the night to Bethshan and took the bodies of Saul and his sons down from the wall. And they brought them to Jabesh, where they buried the bodies. So, and then 1 Chronicles 10, 1-4 backs that up. Then we get Jonathan's descendants in there, and we get this. And then in 2 Samuel 4:4, it tells about Jonathan's descendant Mephibosheth that gets crippled and how that happens. We get David learning of Saul's death, and we get a man that this man came and told David, and he twisted the story just a little bit. The story was, or what we learned, both in Chronicles and in, or 1 Chronicles and in 1 Samuel, that when Saul went to battle, they wounded him. They killed Jonathan and his brothers, but Saul they wounded. He asked his armor bearer to kill him. The armor bearer wouldn't do it, so Saul fell on his sword. So did the armor bearer. The armor bearer saw that Saul was dead, and he fell on his sword. This Amalekite that brought the news that Saul was dead said that Saul was injured and asked the Amalekite to kill him, and the Amalekite said yes, he did. He killed him, and David killed him for it. But for David killed him for telling him, not for telling him, because he said, you deserve death because you killed the Lord's anointed one. And let him, there's a lot of ways that could have gone, not necessarily by, he might not have died by his wounds, or there's a lot of things, but again, don't take that into your own hand. Don't claim that you do something you didn't do, especially when it could be considered bad. I mean, what was he thinking? What would we think in that situation, right? Would we want to claim that we put the person out of their misery for them, since they asked for it? What would we do in that situation? What would we ask for? Something to consider there. And then David writes a beautiful song about Saul and Jonathan, whom he loved. And he honored Saul even though Saul tried to kill him. So, important stuff. Good stuff.